140.
roughly.
So Curtis, when you're gonna bake your apples, what were those called, Dream Genie?
They were called apple pot.
Yeah, apple. So I think
what you're
you
doing is
said
putting
three.
mixture in the cored
Yeah,
apples.
it's inside. It's like if you put a topping of, like, say, sprinkled hash on top of your crust or something, then it would be inactive. Yeah, it would burn
Oh,
up.
I see what you're saying.
Since it's inside of it. Yeah.
Since it's inside, it's all right, but anything that you remember on top, always do it last.
Yeah.
After it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Kind of like any other herbs.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, because it's good too.
Great. You have some information for us, Curtis?
Yeah, I got a couple of things here.
I'm Bud Nelson.
I've got a couple of things here. I want to talk about North Carolina and what happened with a wonderful man named Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
Woo!
In Raleigh,
Willie!
yeah.
Shoot.
In Raleigh,
Shout out to
North
Willie.
Carolina, the senator has recorded a song that is critical of the marijuana and alcohol charges filed against members and singer-songwriter Willie Nelson and his band. In January, that happened. It just looks like special effort was made on that bus and site with them to, basically, they took special effort to bust him for marijuana and alcohol. And anyway, you had the state senator there, Charles Albertson, a Democrat, said that the so-called song "Leave the Man Alone," refers to the January 28th citation and problem they had there with the police. Now, Willie Nelson had canceled the show that evening because his staff said that his hand was hurting. All he really wanted to do was save face a little bit, and nobody really believes that there in North Carolina. Sid Hawes, a guy that was there who, along with her two grandsons, had gone to the concert. She says, I think Willie just did that, to save face. I think that just as soon as he found out what happened, he told them to pull out of there. It was over. Hawes said, no one blames Nelson for pulling out of the concert. They blame the law enforcement for coming in and trying to play cowboy. Hawes said, Ernie Seneca, a spokesman for ALE division, said that the agents were doing their job.
I wonder what their job was, huh, Curtis?
Yeah, their job was to harass him because, like Snoop Dogg, they got that bus. They know he partakes.
It's like they did with Johnny Cash back in the day.
Easy mark.
Yeah, it says here. It says right here. While the agents were there, they came upon the bus. They smelled marijuana and proceeded to check into it. Seneca said they were allowed permission. They were allowed permission into the vehicle to search. Seneca said they were not out there looking for that at all. That's what the police spokesman said.
They just smelled it.
It's just something they came upon.
Yeah. After they smelled it.
They weren't worried about
The
the
police-
hamburgers they just had.
Or the other smells they smelled.
The police took turns sniffing all the way around the police.
I would
the
think
bus.
a bus is like a motor coach, and a motor coach is like somebody's home. I would think that would have certain rights where they would need to.
I got a little
You're
bit.
being serious, but I just think it's funny. Can you tell us that part again where they all
Yeah.
sniff
Yeah, it says
around?
it says that
Don't they have dogs for that stuff?
Albertson said that
They're on a budget that sheriffs are on their own sniffing these days.
the
I
rumor
mean, they have to
the
sniff
rumor
out.
has it that Albertson said that the Stoner bus was
I heard
in
Lake
town.
County was going broke. That might be next.
They said that the Stoner bus was in town and we've got to investigate. So they sent out a couple cops to sniff around the bus. Obviously,
Sniff around the bus.
I guess they can't afford dogs.
Jeez.
I guess that police department can't afford drug sniffing dogs. They send out their.
Drug sniffing narcotics
Right.
officers.
Anyway, that's all I had on Willie Nelson.
You gotta go to school extra year to get that
And
certificate.
if you were to robo sniff, they had
Yeah, you had some information about
Yeah.
the military or something?
Yeah, I got some great information about the VA.
This is serious business.
The VA doctors are forbidden to recommend medical marijuana, and you know what? It's our God-given right as veterans to use it because there's nothing in the law books with the Veterans Administration that says we can't use cannabis. Okay, it says the largest group of patients enrolled in New Mexico's medical marijuana program are those who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, which I have. 70% of my 100% or 110% disability is post-traumatic stress. And it's the only thing that works for it. Really, I've tried Paxil, Elavil, Wellbutrin, all these chemical drugs. They don't work. They give me other side effects. Now I have restless leg syndrome, so I understand. It says Albuquerque's Veteran Administration Hospital, which many veterans rely on as their only source of health care, which is I do because it's very expensive, doesn't allow physicians to recommend the use of marijuana to patients, and if you are on pain management, you'll lose your money, people. Veterans, don't let them catch you with THC in your system on pain management. You'll lose everything. What it is out of 1,249 patients enrolled in the state medical marijuana program as of mid-February, 291 have diagnosis of PTSD. Okay, the next two largest groups are cancer patients at 198 that have AIDS, HIV, cancer, 130 at 130 right now out of 198. PTSD is an anxiety disorder, sometimes severe, that is experienced by people who've endured dangerous situations such as military combat, or like me, I had a parachute accident. A RAND Corporation study in 2008 concluded that 20% of returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan suffer from PTSD or major depression. It's a little more than that. Now it's a little more than that. I don't know. This is probably a little older. I'll have to get some more information on this next.
Okay, great.
So,
thank you.
Okay, suicides among veterans has skyrocketed, and more vets have committed suicide in 2001 than have died on the battlefield in Iraq or Afghanistan. Right, so more people are dying because of the result of the war, and coming home.
Chris, can I
yeah.
say something real quick? Is that a federal thing? You're saying it's
This
state,
is
so
federal.
it sounds
Yeah,
like
this
a
is
state.
federal. No, this is
Well,
federal.
it's federal.
Yeah.
So even if you live in a state,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
oh, wow.
See,
That's
but
really interesting.
what the funny thing, it's not documented anywhere that we can't have that on a private
But
doctor
now
and go
this
to
is
the VA.
kind of a way of documenting it, starting to go in that direction with this new
Somewhat,
regulation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somewhat. It's going to take a long time because the VA, it's in their best interest to get you off disability. They don't want to pay you. Like your service officer, his best job is to catch you lying or keep you from getting money. You have to get evaluated to see if you. It's like Social Security.
Wow.
You could be turned down.
That's amazing because of the service that you do. You would think that healthcare,
Yeah. You
for
would think,
things related to what you've been through.
You would think the VA is there to help you, but they're really, they don't want to pay. Just like, people don't want to pay people. It says suicide among veterans has skyrocketed, right? And more there than in Afghanistan or the battlefield in Iraq. The Drug Enforcement Agency advises VA on policy. The drug enforcement, but it's not in our books.
It's not medical either. It's a drug enforcement.
The
They're advising.
VA, right here, it says the VA policy that prohibits its doctors from recommending medical marijuana derives from the advice of the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency.
Whoa.
According to a policy statement given to the Independent by Sonia Brown, Chief of Voluntary Service and Public Affairs Operations of the New Mexico VA healthcare system, this advice reflects the continued federal classification of marijuana as an illegal drug, despite the fact that it's allowed in 14 states.
It's sad, and it's almost like the employment thing that we were speaking of earlier on how the state, has the cannabis for people
the
with
state
215,
guidelines
but
for
a lot of times
215,
it's
but then like
not
places
followed.
like casinos don't follow that. So if you get hired at a casino in California, they go by the federal guidelines and not by the state guidelines. And if you just happen to be skilled and smoke marijuana, you can't work there.
And they're
Yeah.
Indian casinos, which is
And
cannabis is part of a lot of the culture.
The culture, that's
Kind of a